guys. Today we are driving the Suzuki Swift Sport, which is actually my own personal car. I've had this car for 3 years, and I'm going to talk a little bit why I bought this and my impressions after having it for about 3 years. I will talk a little more about facts and details later on for those who are interested in that, but right now I just thought I'd tell a little bit about the background story and on my way on this beautiful drive on this Swedish fall day. Hope you enjoy the scenery, I do. So, the Suzuki Swift Sport. This is a 2012 model, which was the facelifted or new model when it came out. It has a 1.6 liter four-cylinder engine that produces 136 horsepower, which is not great, which they standards. But after my story, maybe you will realize that those horsepower do a really good job in this car. So the background with this car was that me and my wife, we needed a second car, and the criteria for this car was it needed to be financially sound, not too expensive, not drink too much gas, easy to maintain, all that. We looked at a bunch of options out there, and being kind of a car guy, I would call myself that, I kind of felt I had this challenge where I wanted to find a reasonably cost car with, easy to maintain, that was still fun to drive. I mean, there are a lot of good economical choices out there for cars, but for me, if I buy a car just for the economical part of it and just to be a transporter from A to B, I just really don't feel like I want to. That's for me, it's a waste of money. It's not going to be fun each month when I pay those bills. But if I can buy a car that has all those criteria and still are fun to drive, well, I will gladly pay those money in the end of each month. So after looking around, looking at a bunch of hot hatches, realizing that hot hatches are pretty expensive today. They're great cars though, but they're pretty expensive. I kind of started narrowing down on this car, and I didn't know much about Suzuki before, to be honest. I mean, I know they make great motorcycles and engines. So I decided to take this little baby out for a test drive, and that was a fun test drive. I really enjoyed that test drive. I was surprised in how fun this car was to drive, despite looking at the facts and figures of it. And I think a lot of reason behind that is weight. This is a light car. Those 136 horsepower do not have to pull a lot of weight. And if you're into cars, we all know that low weight is good. It means that it will corner well, the brakes don't have to be oversized. It's just going to feel light and nimble. And this car does. It definitely does. I would say that this car is very reminiscent of the old GTIs. Before, the ones we have today with 358 horsepower and costing well over 50,000 euros. Back in the days where they were small, light cars with a really perky engine. You don't have too many of those today, especially not in a good size package. I mean, this is a really practical car. I mean, I fit 5 people into this car. I mean, it's not a Maybach kind of style back there, but you can go on pretty decent road trips and still manage to have this really fun car. We've had it now for 3 years. We've been really happy with it. I mean, the Japanese sure know how to manufacture reliable cars. The only things we've had to done to it is to change the batteries in the key fob and change the pads in the rear brakes. And I've changed a lot of brake pads on cars, and I must say this was by far the easiest job I've ever done. And for me, that just kind of it just adds on to the feelings I have for this car. As I said, 136 horsepower doesn't seem like a lot, and no, it's not going to win any drag races with your local Porsches and other cars. But for me, driving a car, it doesn't really matter how fast it is. It's the feeling of getting you to 0 to 60. I mean, I've driven cars that are insanely fast with huge engines, and they're just numb. I mean, you're driving them, and you know, yeah, it's fast, but it doesn't feel like it's going fast. And I mean, what's the point if there's no difference in going 150 miles per hour versus 100 miles per hour versus 70 miles per hour? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna beat other cars up there, but you know, are you having any fun while you're doing it? This car, it is fun. I've said that many times now, but it's just exhilarating, taking the corners. There was actually a Swedish car journalist that said that this is like a Mazda MX-5 in a hatchback bodies. And I'm not an expert in MX-5s, but I think I agree with him, because you get this practical hatchback, although this is a 2-door. I know today they're sold as 5 doors, but you get that kind of practical package. You have a boot, you have all of that, and it still handles like this really smart, small, nimble car. I'm on a public road obviously now. I'm not going to be thrashing it around. Maybe do a little revving later on so you can kind of hear the sound, because it is, although it's stock exhaust, it actually can sound quite good. As I said, we've had this car for 3 years, and when we bought it, my wife did not like it at all. She thought it was, you know, it was nervous. That's the expression she had. She thought, you know, it's. I remember driving the first time, and I said, you know, give it all it has now. You know, you see what it goes. You know, try it out. I remember her revving it up to 4,000 RPM and just kind of shifting. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, you know, I don't want to break it. I was like, you're not going to break this engine. The engine revs to 7,100 RPM around there, and it picks up its peak power or horsepower at 6,900. So, I mean, that kind of tells you what this engine likes to do. It likes to be revved, constantly revved. I mean, if you're short shifting it, you know, yeah, it's gonna be like a normal hatchback. You're all cruising around town. But if you start revving it, you're gonna have a lot of fun. And it didn't take very long for my wife, who came from it's nervous and I don't like it to loving it. And I've been behind her behind her on the road with our other car, and yeah, she's really enjoying it. So I mean, as a combination of a practical car, I mean, it could be your main car, it could be a practical second car, but still on, you know, those occasions you feel like you want to go out there and just kind of enjoy the road. I don't think there are many options similar to this, and especially not at this price. So guys, I told you I'm gonna rev this out a little bit and just get out to a better section of road here. So you're gonna hear, although this one has a stock exhaust, it's quite loud actually. I know a lot of people put better exhaust on it, and they sound great. But I think this is enough. I mean, as you can hear, it's pretty. So, in the ways of creature comfort, this car comes standard pretty well equipped, I must say. Once again, if you're not into the standard equipment on a typical Suzuki Swift, this one comes pretty much fully equipped. You got HID headlights or bi-xenon, depending what you call them in what country you live. It comes equipped with ACC air conditioning. You got Bluetooth, upgraded stereo. The Bluetooth is of course integrated both phone, and you can stream music and all that. Yeah, as I said, you know, pretty well equipped. Really enjoy the Bluetooth transmission. Oh my God, it's a great little transmission. Being a high revving engine, I mean, you need a good transmission that's just kind of short shifted and everything, and it's a good 6-speed transmission. I haven't had any problems. I mean, as we speak, I've driven pretty much 7,800 kilometers. I will have to put a subtitling what that is in miles, but And we haven't had any problems with this car whatsoever. And I've had other cars that had a lot more issues than that. And I think it comes down to that this car is just, it's not rocket science in here. It's old, tested, proven technology, and you can tell. You don't really have any issues with it. Okay, guys. So here are the seats and some of the interior I was talking about earlier. Really, nice interior. You got the red stitching going on with some sport logos in there. The seats are really comfortable. They're quite, they're quite bucketed, if that's the word you use. But I think they work really well, and they give a good support. I've been on a lot of road trips with this car, and they're quite comfortable even after a couple hours in the car. And the boot is it's okay. It's a small car, and it's gonna have an effect of the space you have, of course. Although you can fold the seats if you need to put a lot of luggage in there. That boot lid comes off, and you can have a road trip, of course, being to take some of the space away from the passengers in the back. A little annoying fact is that the boot lid is not automatic. You have to fold that up by yourself, which is, I don't know why they put that in. Why they didn't just put a string to pull it up. Okay, moving on to the back seat. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a big back seat, but you can actually fit in, three not so big people out there, but two people are actually quite comfortable in there. And I've had some friends back there, and they never complain about the space. Usually, it's more about my driving, but that's another topic, of course. Beauty is, of course, in the eye of the beholder, but I think it's a nice little car. I think it looks good. It's got some details that separate it from the standard Suzuki Swift, and that, of course, it's got a more aggressive front bumper. It also has a wing in the back. You will see that in the next pictures. You got the side skirts, which are not in the normal Suzuki Swift, and of course, you got those 17-inch wheels. And as I said, altogether, people, it's most positive remarks about the looks of the car. Here you can also see how the rear wing looks, and also the dual exhaust. Yeah, altogether, I think it's a good looking car.